Hello, my viewers and listeners. My name is Stephen Kamore, the Program Director, Counseling Research Institute of Kenya. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this online program as a continuation of the series that we have been having. Through the inbox, many listeners out there, they have asked me to discuss a very specific topic, and this is on how to handle defiant children. So that is the focus of my presentation during this particular program. My listeners and my viewers, I know that many people find it challenging to handle defiant children. And therefore, during this particular program, I want us to understand that defiant children are just normal children like anybody else or like other children. Defiance simply means that these children have a behavior characterized by refusing to obey rules, or sometimes they fail to listen to the grown-ups, or sometimes even fail to comply to their request, especially from parents and sometimes from those other figures in authority. And as I talk or as we discuss this particular topic, I want also to remind us that defiant children are not only at home, they are also in school. And therefore, I will also be addressing the teachers who are listening to me. Now, the only problem that we have when dealing with the defiant children is our attitude. We view them and label them according to the negative behaviors that they portray. For example, you realize that these defiant children, they have various negative behavior. For example, they have a tendency to talk back to the significant others. They like arguing with authority all the time. Sometimes they have a tendency of being destructive. They will break things. Other time, they will just ignore instructions given to them, either by the teachers or sometimes by the parents or by the other adults. Other times, they may even refuse to go to school. Actually, most of the defiant children may end up dropping out of school if they are not properly handled. And in some extreme cases, I have come across children who are defiant and they have what we call the runaway syndrome. What do I mean by this? They have a tendency to run away from home. But my listeners and viewers, let me remind you or remind us that defiant children are strong-willed and therefore they require to be understood. And I want to say that defiant children, they are good children, and honestly speaking, I have seen many of them reform. I have had cases of defiant children who have been labeled terrible in terms of discipline in various educational institutions. And today, even the teachers wonder, what is it that you did to these children that they have been able to reform and and become good and compliant. Now, the only thing we do is the attitude in which we handle these children with. To me, defiant children are as good as the compliant children. And what we do, and this is what I want to share with you, my listeners and my viewers, is to understand that these children have positive traits. They have very good traits that can be nurtured and make them successful children. By the way, most of the successful people you see, majority of them have a form of defiance. And they have these good characteristics. If they are nurtured well, then these children can use their potential to excel in positive way. They can excel in business, they can excel in leadership, they can excel in very many areas. Now, what are some of these good traits that I want you to understand as my viewers and listeners? One is that these defiant children are good in risk-taking. And therefore, that's a very good trait. Most of the successful people in the society are risk takers. But if you don't understand these characteristics in them, then, what am I trying to say? You may label them rebellious and risky, they may label that behavior as dangerous to them. Two, they are children who have self-confidence. They are children who have confidence in themselves. They have a very high self-efficacy. The other thing is that they are very good in interrogating situations and circumstances. And that is why, in most cases, you'll find that these defiant children, they don't accept anything unless they are persuaded, unless that the situation is good for them. And this is something adults don't like. For example, you may find children interrogating a certain situation, and they may actually reject your opinion as a parent or as a teacher. It doesn't mean that that's a weakness. That is a very good trait, because these are people who engage in activities after they are persuaded that those activities are good for them and they are going to profit them. The other characteristics I've noted in these defiant children is that they have what we call self-determination. And they love making their own decisions. They love doing things on their own. And some of them are very intelligent. And therefore, when you are dealing with them, and you find that they want to do things on their own, many parents feel discouraged. And they feel like these children are rebelling against them. But this is a very positive trait of somebody who wants to succeed in life. Another characteristic I've noted is that most of them have no fear. They are fearless. These are wonderful characteristics. These are people who can, that's why we say they can take risk. They have no fear. That's why you can see they can engage in activity. They can learn away from home. And sometimes they don't even mind whatever is going to happen. That's why we have said they are good in risk-taking. My listeners and my viewers, my message here is that if you want to work with your difficult child, then you must stop focusing on the negative traits. Don't look at the negative traits that they are saying, that they are talking to you bad, they are challenging your decisions and all that. But try to look at the positive side of this particular child. Can I tell you, the opposite of a defiant child is a compliant child. And many people, even teachers, they want to work with the compliant children. This, I call them the yes category. When they just like accepting whatever you tell them. They don't challenge your authority. They don't challenge your decision. They are always obeying. And we feel like these children are good. But can I tell you, those children, as you go further and compare the two, you might find that this child who is compliant may grow with a dependent syndrome, and later on may not be able to excel in life as compared to this risk taker. And that is why I'm telling you that these children we are calling defiant children. They are good children, and therefore we must change our attitude to be able to work with them. What kind of an attitude am I saying? You must look at them like as normal children, but they are a bit difficult, probably due to the environment in which they are brought up in, or probably due to their temperaments. But that one does not mean they are failures in life. So you need to know as a parent or as a teacher that when you are working with a defiant child, you require more energy, you require more patience, because they are difficult. That's why I've said they are strong-willed. But being strong-willed does not mean they are bad children. That strong will is a driving force that we require as human beings to climb up the ladder of excellence. And therefore, that is a fact that we must accept for us to be able to work with these children. And therefore, I want to say that these children, the defiance has a cause. In psychology, we always say that every behavior has a cause. It has something that triggers it. And in this scenario, we want to ask ourselves, why then do we have children defying? What is the cause of this defiance? And these causes are very important because if you understand them, you'll be able to look at defiance just like a symptom. It is just a symptom. But what is the root cause of defiance behavior in our children? There are several factors, about 5 of them, which I want to highlight for you briefly, my listeners. One is that sometimes defiance children are only seeking for identity. They are trying to understand themselves. And that is why sometimes you may find them defying you because they want to create their own path. They want to understand who they are. And in the process of doing that, they may do things. They may defy your values. They may defy, your perspectives. They may defy your orders because they also want to explore and find out what is best for them. And therefore, that search for identity can be a major cause of defiance behavior, and especially among the teenagers. Actually, most of the most difficult children, especially in defiance, are in the teenage stage of development. And you know very well that the developmental task during this particular stage is identity development. And therefore, the key question that is bothering these children is, who am I? And therefore, in the process of exploring that, you may find them difficult, disobeying your orders, disobeying rules that are trying to manipulate or probably to order them or even to control them because they want to discover themselves. The other reason, that is point number 2, is the search for independence. This, as you have noted here, these defiant children are risk takers. They have what we call self-determination. They want to lead their own life. They want to do things on their own. And therefore, if you are a domineering significant other, like the helicopter parenting, those parents who want to ensure that they follow their children wherever they are going. When they are going to the toilet, you are there with them. When they are going to the farm, you are there. You have no space to give them to explore their independence. Then they might defy you as a way of communicating that probably they don't want to be dominated or throughout their lifetime. So sometimes they are saying we need our space. So that search for independence could be a factor and a root cause of defiance in many of these children. The other one is the desire to control their own lives. And this becomes a problem, especially for parents who are authoritative. For parents who force their decisions, who force their ideas on their children. And when they defy and they don't obey those ideas, they don't embrace them, the parents have a feeling that this child is defying them. So that idea or that notion or desire of having control of their lives is a major reason that could cause defiance. The other reason why children sometimes become defiant, and I have noted it, sometimes defiance is a way of seeking for attention. What do I mean by attention? Probably these children have some gifts, they have some characteristics they want, or things that they want the significant others to note in them. And sometimes when they are not noticed and they are not appreciated, one way of calling for attention could be defying the person who is an authority in their life. For example, they can defy the teachers. They can defy the parents. Not because they are bad children, but because it's a way of seeking for attention. Then lastly, but not the least, is the desire for acceptance. And especially when you talk about the teenagers. Teenagers we can say, they like working with the peers. And therefore, they may suffer from what we call the peer pressure. And therefore, they may want to do things that their peers are already doing. And probably the parents and the significant others are against that. And therefore, as a way of complying to the peers, they may defy the significant others. Because at this particular stage, especially the teenage, they tend to value the peer influence. And that's why I'm saying, when you find that your child is defiant, either in school or at home, instead of getting angry and becoming, or engaging in fight with this kind of children, it is good to sit down and ask yourself, what could be the cause of this defiance behavior? And therefore, those 5 things that I have already mentioned can give you an insight to explore what could be the cause. Now, after you have noted the cause, probably now we can discuss briefly and I can assist you. How can you work with this child? Remember, I'm talking about walking because transiting with the children is a journey. And therefore, I can give you briefly a few tips that can help you as a teacher, that can help you as a parent to work with a defiant child. One of the tips is that learn to use dialogue more than command. And especially when you are dealing with the teenagers. In one of my books, The Art of Parenting, Book 1, I have dealt deeply with how the significant others, these are the parents and the teachers, can walk and transit with the children. The children between the age of 0 to 12, I actually call that stage command stage. In this stage, my listeners, children use obedience most of the time to comply and work with the adults. So the work of the adults is just to give instructions. You give command. And by the way, Many parents with children at this particular age, you'll hear them, praising their children, that my child is so good. When I tell her we go to church, they follow me. When we tell her to dress this way, they follow me. But can I tell you, my listener and my viewer, this stage, I call it the parenting honeymoon stage. Continue enjoying it because it is temporary. Because the children, the mind of these children have not yet developed to be rational and sometimes make some abstract, decisions. And therefore, they just obey you. And that is why, for the teachers who are listening to me, you know very well, it is very rare and to hear about a strike in primary school. Because children in that age, they are just compliant. They just obey. And therefore, the significant others, this includes the parents, the teachers, they are very happy with these children. And they really find it very easy to work with them. But let me tell you, when these children now come to age 12, and now they are almost transiting to high school, their mind has already grown, it has already developed, and they can be able to reason out. They can be able to evaluate things. And therefore, what happens is that these children now, they realize two things. And I want you to note this very carefully. One of the things they realize is that they cannot do anything if they don't want to do it, even if somebody else wants. You see, that one now begins the stage of what we are calling defiance. The second thing they also realize is that no one can stop them from doing whatever they want, even if they don't want them to do it. As long as it is they who want to do it, they will do it. Now, I want you to imagine this compliant child who has just been obeying and now all of a sudden has come to self-realization and is saying, I need my independence. I need to be allowed to make decisions that are fair to me. I need to understand my ability. I need to understand my potential. I need to comply to my age mates. And therefore you see now, they now start doing things contrary to the expectations of the parents, contrary to the expectations of the teachers. Can I tell you that this is a stage whereby you can change your parenting style. Now, instead of now commanding, instead of now giving instructions without engaging them, I always tell the parents, in this stage, we adopt another approach whereby you engage in dialogue. You change from being an authority and become a friend to this particular child. You remove the clown of authority and become a friend. Now, as a friend, now you bring the children closer to you and start engaging them in dialogue. May I tell you, in this stage, I call it the consent stage. Through the dialogue, you will argue, we will discuss, and come out with a way forward together. And that's why I'm using the word consent. You will agree on how things should move on. And therefore, that engagement, that friendliness, that consent minimizes the defiance that you find in these children. And that is why I'm saying that learn to use more of dialogue. I wish you can get an opportunity and read these details in that book that I'm talking about, The Art of Parenting, Volume 1. Point number 2, tap the power of appreciation. Parents and teachers who are listening to me, I want to inform you that appreciation is a multiplier of good behaviors. Do you want to see good behaviors? Do you want to see the child becoming more obedient? Then learn to appreciate the good things that they do. The dangerous thing is that with many parents, we always focus on the negativity. Whatever they are doing wrong, that is what is really dominating our relationship. But I would wish that you can learn to appreciate them. And let me tell you, when you stop focusing on the negative aspects of a defiant child and you start now focusing on what good that they are doing, let me tell you, you'll change them in a positive way. And therefore, appreciation is a very powerful tool when you want to change defiant children. Point number 3, address the behavior without batching out your child. Now, in most cases, I have seen that people who are dealing with defiant children, what they do, they attack the child and the behavior at the same time. And therefore, you hurt their ego, you hurt their self-esteem. It is very important that we learn to separate between the child and the behavior. Let me give you a very good example. A child has come late home or in school. Don't just label the child late comer. No. Just say that you have come late. The child is good, but now focus on that behavior, the lateness. That is where the problem is. And that is why even the Bible says that God loves us the way we are. We are not loved because of our behavior. Because sometimes we offend our Father who is in the heaven. But sometimes also children will also offend us. So what we are going to do here is that we must separate the child. The child is always a good child. That's why I started by saying, change your attitude toward these defiant children. In fact, let me tell you, I have had many children coming to me, and they have always confessed, do you know why I have loved you? It's because you have not condemned me. You have embraced me. You have loved me the way I am. You have not listened to the rebels given to me. And therefore, I will not even embarrass you. And we are able to walk this journey because I'm able to differentiate the child and the defiant behavior. Point number 4. Try to explore the root cause of the defiance in your child. As I had said earlier, every behavior has a cause. My listener and my viewer, you cannot just laugh for the sake of laughing. You cannot just cry for the sake of crying. Just likewise, somebody does not become defiant without a reason. That's why I've told you there are several reasons, the root cause of defiance in children. I've told you some could be looking for identity, others could be searching for independence, others could be desiring to have control over their lives, others could be seeking attention, and others probably they could only be seeking acceptance by the peers. So it is for you now, when you are dealing with this defiant child, whether in school, do not just label a child. Just ask yourself this question: why is this girl defiant? Why is this boy defiant? Then from there, remember the 5th reason. Could it be there is attention this child is seeking? Could it be this child is exploring her or his identity? And once you are able to explore that, then you'll be able to deal with the root cause of that defiance behavior. The other one is that choose your battles wisely. Sometimes you find that teachers and parents, they react so badly toward these defiant children, and therefore they engage in battles with them. But may I tell you something? You don't have to use your physical and mental energy, all of it, on this defiant child. You'll get exhausted, you get burnout. There's what we call parenting burnout. It will be very stressful. And that's why I have said dealing with a defiant child without the knowledge on how to work with them can be very frustrating. And that's why I have said you need more energy. You need more patience because they will push you to the corner. And therefore, my listener, what advice am I giving you? Choose your battles wisely. You should not engage in every battle you are invited by this particular defiant child. Some things are just ignored. Some of the minor things, assume you have not even seen them. Because they could also be using them also to irritate you. And therefore, don't engage in unhealthy battles with this kind of children. Walk and make wise decisions on when to react and when to ignore them. And let me tell you, these children, when they can use defiance as a trigger. And therefore, some things, simply ignore them. Point number 6. Keep your power. I have seen this very as a very interesting point when I'm dealing with the parents. You find that defiant children, sometimes they have taken the power of the teachers, they have taken the power of the parents. Now, how do you lose your power? You lose your power when you allow the defiant child to argue with you, and then you look like you are equals. Sometimes when you are dealing with a defiant child, it is always good to draw clear lines. Let your no be no, and entertain no more arguments. Let your yes be yes, without adding anything. Let these children understand you are an authority. You are not equal. And this is a child, you are an adult. You are a mother, you are a father. And there is no way you can engage yourself as equals in any struggle. So please ensure you don't lose your power as a parent. And therefore, never allow your child to develop a perception that he can control you or manipulate you. Lastly, my listener, establish boundaries. Boundaries will allow children to feel empowered. And in a family or in a system, everybody has a space. Sometimes create boundary. The boundary for the teachers, the boundary for the children, or for the student. The boundary for the parent and the boundary for the child. Now, what does the boundary mean? That there are things you do as a parent and the child should not interfere with them. There you have a law as a father and a mother. And this law must be prayed. And therefore, the child also has his or her laws. And therefore, give them sometimes space to make their own decisions. Sometimes it's also good to give them space to feel independent. But remember, you don't just give full independence until the child has reached what we call the autonomous stage. The autonomous stage is a stage now between, probably from around 19 onward up to the adulthood. You keep on giving gradual independence. So, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to tell you, my viewers and listeners, that defiant children are good children. So do not get frustrated. Do not look like, you are losing it. These are good children. And therefore, in conclusion, what have I said? These children are as good like any other child. These children can have potential to succeed in life. These children have good characteristics. And I want to emphasize, focus on those characteristics because they can help them become very useful members of the society. And then I've also said that understand that defiance behavior has a cause. And I've already taken you probably through 5 causes which you should always be considering as the root cause. Defiance as a behavior is just a symptom of an underlying issue. And that is what you're supposed to explore. And then lastly, I have given you about 7 hints on how you can handle these defiance children. My listeners and my viewers, Counseling Research Institute of Kenya, we like empowering our listeners. These programs are meant to reach out to our community. And therefore, do you have a defiant child? Probably you have tried all those things and you need help. You can always get to us through the number that is already given down there. And we can explore further on how to help these children. We have good programs that deals with school discipline. And therefore, we have helped and worked with very many institutions in this country. And especially on programs on parenting and also school discipline, we have been empowering teachers and parents. And therefore, we are available for you. It is just a call away, and then you can engage us, and we shall be able to assist you to work with these defiant children, or even to help them change their behaviors. Otherwise, continue listening, continue following. For more information, you can still follow our Facebook account, Counseling Research Institute of Kenya. You can visit our Instagram account, Cry Kenya. And you can also follow my Facebook, Stephen Kamore, and also my YouTube account. This is where we end up putting all these videos for future reference, and you can always use them for your own reference and even share with friends. Otherwise, I'm glad you have for creating your time to listen to me. We will continue. Keep on following. More programs are on the way. Leave your compliment there, and we shall be using it even to give you the feedback, just like you have done to this one, by asking the question, how do we handle the defiant children? And I hope I have given you some insight. God bless you for listening.